Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Everybody's excited about the Ableton Live 12 news that it just dropped. So we're going to compare it to our workflow in FL Studio and see where we get stuck, where we learn new things. So let's hop straight into Ableton Live 12 and let's try out their piano roll. You know, I don't read manuals along with a lot of folks. And so we go by intuition and like how stuff flows. So what I'm going to go through is like our workflow as producers. So firstly, let's click on MIDI and we want an instrument. Let's go to where it says packs. I highly recommend you guys grab the guitar and bass pack from the available packs because this guitar is very clean. So let's go to sound, guitar clean, and let's use the guitar open. So I'm going to use my typing keyboard. It's a very clean tone guitar. I'm actually shocked how clean this is. So we can switch out the key up top, you know, the key and the scale. But that doesn't affect the typing keyboard. That's just for the piano roll. So what we want to do is create a MIDI clip. So let's loop up about, let's say 16 bars. Let's highlight this entire thing. And then you want to right click, insert empty MIDI clip. All right. So now that we have this, what we're going to do is start drawing in notes. Now the reason you see this stuff as purple is because up top you have a key and a scale mode. So what you could do is click this for scale mode. If I turn this off, you don't see those purple colors anymore. You could also open your piano roll and click it right here. So to be fair, the reason we think their piano roll is not as good as FL is because we make the windows super small. So firstly, let's make the piano roll window bigger. I wish it was like a separate window that we could move around. But until then, we got to go with their architecture. So what I'm going to do is scroll and zoom in with my mouse pad, trackpad. And let's right click. Let's change the grid from 1/16 to 1/8. I like to write in 1/8 because it's just chunkier. And if I have to get granular, I'll go down to 1/16. Most of the time I'm writing in 1/8 at like 140 BPM or higher. So let's change the BPM to 140 there. Let's turn on the metronome. And now let's click this scale mode icon right here. Okay, so if I hit B, I go into draw mode. It is a little weird coming from FL to have to press a button in order to write notes. You know, I can't really just like click a note in. It's kind of weird. You could also double click, but I know I'm trying not to complain, but basically the difference is that you don't hear the note by default. So you have to click this little headphone icon to hear notes. And then once you have a note, you have to drag it out. It's a little tedious every single time to drag every single note. You could hit shift left and shift right to make these notes longer. But compared to FL where it copies the last values and it just makes it easier to make melodies, this will probably be a sticking point for a lot of you guys. Okay, so let's do, and let's just go up the scale. Now, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't know if that's triplets or what, so let's figure it out. Let's change the snap to grid to 1/16, and let's zoom in a little bit. Now this is going outside the scale, so I don't know what scale this would be. I wish the DAWs would figure, here's what I wish, okay, is that our melody, we draw it in, and then the DAW figure out what key we're in from the melody. That way, we're not trying to figure out what key it is, you know, because this is whole, half, whole. So I assume we're in A natural minor so far. But if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know where to start or where to begin or where to. So it's kind of like, now there may be a function here that does that for you, but I see a fit to scale, adjust the pitches of selected notes to fit the clip's key and scale. But again, if you don't know the key and scale, what does that matter? Okay. So I don't know what this is, but I guess that's the note. And then 0 interval size, set the size interval that would apply to new notes. So I don't know what that does yet, but let's just. Okay, so let's have this A kind of ride out. So I thought it was triplets, but it's not triplet. So we're just going up and down the scale. Something happened with the timing here, so let's figure that out. Now this is where I think it is triplets. 1, 2, 3. And then back to A. Now, I wish there was a way, there probably is. So let's right click, let's go to triplet grid. So now we're gonna convert the timing into triplets. Let's just see if this locks better with triplet. Kind of hard to tell. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But it's not 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a weird rhythm. So in that case, I'm not going to bore you guys with here trying to get the exact timing, but it's definitely off here by like a hair. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, this note's off, that's why. It's like a tiny bit off, man. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, so it's closer, but not all the way there. Thank God for these grids. So you can right click and make it smaller and smaller. This is why I would go down in the grid to make it more microscopic. So I don't know if you guys can see it, so I'll pull the menu over here. So if you right click, go to 132, that makes it a little more granular so we can get in and micro nudge. Also, you can just left click and drag to like get perfect timing. Okay, and then we want it to repeat. So let's loop that. So now we're gonna get out of the piano roll for a second and go back to the arrangement view. Hopefully I can click the top. There we go. All right, and let's make sure this actually loops perfect like the way I expect it. Okay, so let's put it on loop mode up top. It's close enough. It's not all the way there, but it's close enough. So there's another tool if you hit Control A. What I do like is they've added this humanize feature, which you would have to run a script in FL Studio, but I don't know if that script came with the update or not. So they just have this baked into it, which is great. So we're gonna hit humanize, and what this does is it changes the timing. So you can turn this up or turn it down. So it becomes a little more loose when you turn it up. Let's turn it all the way up. I like it, but I don't like certain notes. Now, can we add swing? That's a great question. I just thought about it. Can we add swing? It's not evident how to add swing. I think it's under grooves, but I can't remember how to add swing to their to your stuff in Ableton. So I'm gonna right click and look for a menu real quick. So I like to humanize, but there's certain notes I don't want it to affect. So let's figure out which notes they are. It's these B notes here. I don't want those. So let's figure out how to deselect. So I'm hitting Control Shift to deselect those notes so that they're not affected in timing. Still kind of messes up my groove. So we're just gonna leave that alone because we already messed with it. But if your groove was more quantized, you could add humanize to add that subtle timing difference. But what it doesn't do, from what I understand, is mess with the velocity. Whereas in FL Studio, it would change your velocity if you have it set to humanize. So that's part of this that I wish was kind of baked in, is just messing with the velocity. So one thing about Ableton compared to FL is the velocity handling is very kind of difficult. So let's randomize the velocity, and then it looks like we could pull it in a range. So this is similar to humanize, but it's their version of it. So we're going to use randomize. Let me make sure these notes weren't. Feels like it's humanized, but it's... Okay, so what I'm going to do is switch this to 1/32. Let's hit Control U to quantize. Something happened with my timing. I must have pressed something. Again, it's like a human touch that's missing around this part right here. It's going to drive me insane. But regardless, we can hit Control A, go down to the bottom where it says velocity, randomize, and then you can mess with the range here. I like this velocity range. What I'm going to do though is click on B. Now, from what I remember, you can hit like Control. You can hit Control and then left click on a note. So the lighter the color, the higher the velocity. So I'm going to hit Control and left click and pull this down. Okay. Now in FL, you could do like a lot of cool stuff like fades and like So if anybody knows in the comments below, I will give you a cookie. If I meet you in person, I'll buy you a cookie. So if anybody could tell me how to reset the velocity in Ableton to where it's back to normal, I will thank you. There's probably a button that I'm going to find out after making the video. But the issue that I have most of the time when it comes to Ableton is I'll record. Maybe this deviation knob does that. No, it doesn't. Okay. So deviation, I believe, it changes the velocity every pass through. So if I type in deviation, it will play different velocities every time. Let's exaggerate this just to see. Sounds the same to me. Okay, so now with the deviation higher. So this is imitating a real player playing different takes every single time. So that I find useful for making stuff sound more realistic. In this case, I'm just gonna make the deviation subtle to where people can't even tell. But there is a subtle change. Every time it plays through, it's a subtle velocity change. So I do like these things. All right, so I just researched, I got it from a UK guy. He showed me like a really unorthodox way to go about this. He said, hit Control A, drag all your velocities to the top. Let me turn this headphone off. Hit Control A, highlight all your velocities, pull them to the top, and then slowly bring them down. Who would have thought to do that? But that's fire though. Shout out to him. Okay, so let's, wow, I figured it out. Okay, now let's turn our deviation downward. So I don't want the notes to go any higher than 73 velocity. So I am liking the experience in the piano roll. I wish Ableton had a way, and there probably is a way, I just don't know it yet, to make every new note that I add the same length. That way I'm not like stretching every note out every single time. That gets tedious. Let's make this a chord. Let's add the fifth underneath. And let me show you guys some other things. So this looks like it's not snapping to the grid. Let's change our, let me see, fixed grid 1/4. I guess you have to arrow through to make it snap. So let's hit shift right. Now, one thing that threw me off is if you move this little thing called a start marker, let's say you move it accidentally to the right. Like, I don't know how I did it one time, but it just did it over here. I think because I recorded over something and it. So anyhow, if this moves for any reason, this little play button up here, it won't play the beginning of your notes. It'll just start playing these. And that happens usually when you record one take and then it's on loop and you go to record it, but you stopped, but it thinks that you recorded something. It will start like at a weird point. So make sure you guys drag that all the way to the left, or else you'll be like scratching your head for an eternity trying to figure out why your MIDI is not playing. Okay, let's hit shift down to pull this note down. So I'm liking the melody making in Ableton so far. It's not as bad as I thought. All right, let's pull this fifth down an octave, hit shift down. And let's lower this fifth. Now I wonder if we can like bend notes some type of way. Let's hit add interval. I don't know what that just did. What does this do? So I'm highlighting E, and then SD says set size of the interval that will be applied. So let's add, and it looks like it visually shows you too. So let's add the third. Let me think, EG, I guess that is, no, how's it the third? What is this value? I don't know what SD stands for. Let's add that. I guess this is helping you build like harmony stacks maybe. Maybe that's what that is. Okay, so I guess, again, I'm trying to figure out what SD stands for, size of the interval, because that's not a third. It says plus S3 SD. I don't know what that means. So it is kind of quirky with the language there, but let's go back. Now, I wonder if there's a way to pitch bend the notes similar to FL Studio. Again, I didn't read the manuals. I don't feel like watching tutorials. We're just going to see if we could kind of grasp it. So let's highlight A and E. And if you go to transform, you can set it to different modes. It's quantize mode, recombine mode, strum mode. So I'm assuming strum is similar to FL's strum, where we can kind of angle the velocity or the timing, pardon me. So I like that feature. I wonder if there's like a cut feature where we can cut. It's kind of not clear how to like do all this stuff. Okay, so in FL, they usually have tools that you could use. In here, you have to figure it out. Like, how do you cut the remainder of the melody? It doesn't really tell you. So let's turn these down in velocity. So shout out to the dude who showed me the velocity trick. You're goated for that one. Okay, so far we've figured out the first section of melody. Let's try one more thing here, which is the arpeggiate tool. I just want to see what it sounds like. And how do we turn it on? Okay, so it says style up, then it says resets. Okay, but how do we turn this on? Transform. I guess it auto applies. Okay, it auto applies. So let's start moving these knobs, and that's how you turn it on, is by moving the knob. Let's pull this. What does SD? Semitones? 12 SD. 12. Okay, let's count. So E2 all the way up to D6. The heck is 12 mean? I'm gonna have to look up the definition of what it means by 12. I mean, it's a cool sound. I just wouldn't use it for this melody. Let's turn the gate up. And it looks like it's locked into the scale. I don't know if, okay, so that's dope. So if you turn on arpeggio mode and then hit the scale button, it locks into the scale. That's really unique. Now, what's weird though is the timing. I'm not understanding the timing here. Like, how is it deciding why this plays 2 notes and why the other one doesn't? That's the weird part about the art, is like the timing scenario. But let's hit Control U, lock it to the grid. I mean, I like this rhythm. It's pretty cool. Let's turn these velocities down even further. Let's give them more of a deviation. Oh, you know what? I think I was moving the... Oh, no, never mind. I'm not sure this was sampled to the lowest degree because I'm at a pretty low velocity and the notes are pretty loud. So that's kind of all right. Arpeggio is a little weird to use. Let's try another one. I don't know what recombine means, so I have no idea what this does. It rotates. So I guess it just changes out the notes in the way that they're playing. Span, I don't feel like going through like everything. I'm not going to bore you guys to tears. I'm just curious what all this means. So staccato changes the note length. Tenuto, I'm not sure what that means, maybe overlapping. And legato stretches out the notes, it looks like. That's a pretty cool sound. Ornament, let's try one last thing. I know I'm messing with all the features here, but let's try it. So grace note. So flam is more for like snares. Grace note's not really making much sense to me. How do you turn this stuff off? Crap. Let's turn off auto apply. Oh, here's a reset button. Okay, that's probably what. Let's do that again. Did it not? I hit reset, but that didn't do anything. Crap, how do we undo that? We got to Control Z it. So these transform things are kind of interesting, but I probably wouldn't use that on a daily basis. Generate, I believe, creates melodies for you. We'll do that in a different video. So it is taking a while to kind of get through this, but it's because we're trying to learn everything. So we could fit to scale. We've already done that. Let's try a different key. So let's see if we could transform this melody to a different key. Let's say that we want it in C sharp minor, and then we're going to hit fit to scale. It doesn't have the same vibe. Okay, so let's hit Control A, and you could change keys by just hitting down. Now the thing is, again, you're gonna have to understand where you are musically, because now we're in a different key. Okay, so let's see if we can make a chord progression. So here we highlight this. We could hit Control D to duplicate. Now everybody tells you Control D, but look at what it just did. It just pasted in a random place. So we're gonna highlight here, hit Control D, and we have to make sure that it starts and stops at the same place. Now I'm gonna go dun. So let's go back to the arrangement, and make sure we're not looping this. Okay, so let's double click. So again, I think the piano roll is doable once you make it full screen. Without the piano roll full screen, Ableton looks like a mess. But that's because it's not full screen. I do wish they would label all the keys, because as producers, we need to look at keys quickly and know where we're at. When you're playing horizontal, you can't read the keys the same way you can read the keys looking straight at a piano. So it doesn't make sense to not have the keys labeled for us. I'm sure there's a setting somewhere, but like on the default, that should be labeled, because again, it's a new way of producing. We're not looking straight at a piano to know what the keys are. So I'm sure there's a setting somewhere. I don't know where it's at. So dun, then I'm gonna go dun. So let's pull it down a half step, see if we get the same vibe. And I think I want the same notes. Let's hit Control Z. So let's say I want I'm hitting Control Shift to highlight individual notes. So I want to only move, actually I did that backwards. Let's hit Control Shift. So I only want to move the bottom notes. Now we're in a different key, so it's like, how do we figure this out? So let's go by ear. So I want to go dun, dun, turn the headphones on, and then move this note. And now we have to like figure out this top line. Dun, 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 dun. I think we could play the same top notes. Oh no. Trying to get this first note. Okay, so that sounds better. We had to use our ear on that one because, again, we can't go by the scale. So far, I mean, it did take, what, 20 minutes to get here, so it's not like the fastest workflow. I'm sure there's shortcuts that I just don't know. Now, when you see kids making melodies and beats in like 30 seconds on FL Studio, it shows you how powerful their system is as far as creating melody. You know, there's a lot of things I probably would request, but again, I'm not. Okay, before I start going on, tangents, let's add some effects and then we'll kind of wrap this up. Let's see how we could twist this as far as like the tone and the vibe. So now let's start adding effects. Let's go to the left side in the browser. Let's go to audio effects. And what I do like is their amps and then their cabinets. I like the dynamic mic. It just sounds cooler. Let's add some chorus and some delay. So I will say for real instruments, it's actually pretty straightforward and it sounds good. Add some delay. Let's add reverb. Now, usually I would do this on a send, but I don't feel like. Now my ear wants to hear. Dun. I'm going to give you guys the project files for free. So if you go to busyworksbeats.com, look at the top of the website and look for free downloads. Now, from what I understand, I don't see any reverser plugins. So what I'm going to do is just convert this to audio, and by right-clicking and then freeze and flatten track. Now we can double-click and do different things. So first, I'm just going to double-click and reverse the audio. So in this case, the reverse guitar doesn't sound better, but we can mess with the beats, the transients, and kind of mess with this to get a unique vibe. We can also slow it down with the times 2. So if you don't know what these little icons are under transients, it's taking the transient and it's moving forward and backward. Okay, so that's forward, backwards. Then you have one shot, which is just plays it forward, then it stops. Then you have forward, forward looping, which is a little more obvious, but forward, backward is less obvious. Let's try out different modes of stretching. Now this one sounds fire, the repitch mode. That'd be dope if we could bring back the original. So I don't know how to unfreeze a track. I'm assuming you could right click. I don't know if you can go backwards in time without Control Z, but it'd be dope to get the MIDI back and have the original. Again, I'm sure there's a way. It's just not obvious how to get back to where we started. What I'll do is I'll Control Z all the way back to where we go back to MIDI, and then I'll duplicate the track instead. I think it should be, there we go. So now what I'm gonna do is right click and duplicate this instead. So now I have one original, one new, and then we're gonna right click, freeze and flatten this track. And this way we could work one audio, one MIDI, and I could double click and do all this weird audio stuff and blend the two together. So let's do what we did before. Let's hit ×2 to stretch it out ×2. And so again, with audio, I really like Ableton and what it could do. Let's mess with the, what were we on? Granular. We were on texture mode and then mess with the grain size. And now we're basically creating our own guitar pedal effects. All right, so now let me add some more effects. So now I'm blending in the background sound with the original. Here's with just the original. Cool part about Ableton is you can mess with one audio clip and it won't mess with the other one. So I have one pitched down and then one pitched up. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's actually create a duplicate here and then use one for the high pitch, one for the low pitch, because for the low pitch one, I want to try what it sounds like with time stretch. Whoops, I deleted the audio, my bad. And we're going to click on here, go to ×2. This is like adding halftime. So now I have to figure out a way to blend these two together and not make them overlap. So I'm going to edit this pretty substantially, and then we'll see the final product. Firstly, I want to pan this sound. And then I want to kind of chop and screw the slowed down guitar so it doesn't conflict so much with the main melody. So I'm going to find the areas where it gets a little convoluted. Okay, so I think I found the spots, like right here. We're just gonna copy and paste this first one, Control C, Control V. It's just a, okay, so now it's more in tune, it goes dang. Okay, and then over here, let's see what happens if we reverse this. And that kind of makes it blend better. And then let's reverse this one. And now the slowed down one sounds better in my opinion. And then we could also fade these in, fade these out so it doesn't take up so much direct attention. Okay, so now I'm going to add some reverb to the high end so it doesn't get so bitey. So now it has this cool like carnival type sound. Now these two combined sound really good. I might even mess with the original so it blends more in with these because these two sound really good together. Let's see how to blend in the original again. So I'm thinking reverb or just maybe printing it to audio by duplicating it and then using fades. So I'll convert it as a duplicate track. Highlight these, let's freeze these and flatten. I will say this is way more productive in Ableton than FL as far as like taking a melody from simple MIDI into all these complex ideas. This is fun. This is the fun part. Okay, so let's keep messing with this. Okay, so we need to process the original to where it's like very different. So now I'm going to use a device that I created. Let me see here. And I will give you guys the project file, so don't try to memorize this. I created a device that's called Pump. And basically it's just a super compressor. It's going to slam the sound. I think it could benefit from reverb as well. So I'm just widening out the sound with the reverb. Let's bring in the original over time. Let's delete the first take. So I'm liking where this ended. It sounds really dope. Sounds like a Travis Scott guitar melody. Yeah, this sounds really dope now. Sounds fire. I'm very pleased with the results. This was actually shockingly good. I'm going to give you guys the project files for free. Just go to busyworksbeats.com, look at the top, and also the CPU is really low. But go to busyworksbeats.com, go to the top where it says free downloads, and you can get this along with other Ableton, FL, Pro Tools, Logic project files, and a bunch of other stuff as well. Thank you guys for watching. It's Game from busyworksbeats.com. Peace.